Welcome.
It's I Am the Light, the wisdom of Jesus in the 21st century. So we launched your book just over a week ago, and it hit number one bestseller on Amazon in 9 categories. And I looked this morning, it was still I think it was still number 7 bestseller in one of your categories. And it's still number 1 hot new release in several categories. So it's doing really well. So that just shows me that the message in this book, people need this. So congratulations on that success.
Well, thank you so much. It's just been the most amazing ride, and working with you has been a gift. You're like an earth angel, and you've been sent here to support all of us writers in the most amazing and fulfilling way. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Honestly, it's putting books out like this out in the world is why I do what I do, because there's just so much wisdom, and this is so helpful for so many people. I'm just going to go ahead and read a little bit. So, oops.
Sorry about that. I was just trying to share this.
Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and read a little bit from the back cover so that people understand what the book is about, and then we'll go ahead and we'll talk about it. So, from the back cover, it says, "What if I said that Jesus was only the gateway to God? What if I told you that Jesus was the messenger, a master teacher whose mission was to awaken humanity, even as he spoke to its flaws? This book offers you, the reader, an opportunity to investigate that and more. The pathway towards this understanding has been illuminated through the written word, and where the life and times of Christ shows you the way. Peace, love, prayer, and faith are the stepping stones that will lead you toward that oneness with God. It is through walking this path where truth will awaken from deep within you."
Yes.
And then it says, "Patty Horton is a spiritual medium at heart, and this book is where she shares her insights through the magic of authorship." I love that. This will guide you each of you from a unique platform as she reaches out and touches the hearts of the spiritually curious. Known to some as the Spirit Scribe, you will experience the beauty of her spiritual counsel and their wisdom on the pages of this book. Enjoy the journey. I love that. It's so enticing. So that just let's just go right there. Like, when you talk about your spiritual counsel, what does that mean?
Oh my gosh, my spiritual counsel. It just means that all of the master teachers, my guides and teachers, including Jesus and God and the Blessed Mother, and those who are not named but known by energy, who have supported me since I've been 8 years old, making their awareness to me at that age. And as I navigated and got to the age of 18, knowing that there was more to me than met the eye. And that's when I began, for 10 years using books as my teachers, and opening up all the doors so that I could allow my counsel to draw close to me and my purpose in life to be fulfilled.
Ah, wonderful. So you're a medium and you channel. So is that like how, so you're saying that went back from to your childhood since you were 8, or how did you know, like, when did you know that you were receiving these gifts?
Well, I wanted at 8 is when my grandmother visited me in my bedroom. So that was my first awareness. And she stretched her arms out to me, and 7 white crosses came from her heart and flew into mine. And it was very frightening and scary. And I thought I was going to die and she was going to take me off to hell, because I was being raised, I was raised as a Catholic, which, I honor and respect and love my mother for her devotion in her faith and her religion. And so that's the moment that I knew there was something different about me, but we never really spoke about it. It just was an internal guidepost, an internal light, some kind of a whisper that was pushing me forward, because I would know things, or I'd be aware of the weather. That was the first thing that changed for me, knowing, how much snow we were going to get before the weatherman would even predict it, for example. And then by 16, I was watching, Montel Williams and Sylvia Brown on TV, and just like loving it, and it just took off from there. And I just knew that I had to find out more about it. And so that's when it all began. So I always knew, because I would talk to nature and I could get animals to draw close to me. So nature was that Taoist part of me, that other part that was in there, but my foundation of Catholicism is what raised me to recognize that and honor that part and seek it out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so that goes back to your childhood. So you were developing these gifts, and so at what point did you decide, like, what was the inspiration behind this book?
Okay, the inspiration behind this book, I'm going to say the inspiration behind this book probably came 5 years before it became this. I remember sitting with a very wonderful, lovely lady. Her name is June. And I was talking to her and said, I have to figure out a way to get the message out. I have so much to say, and I've been given so much wisdom. It makes me want to cry because it comes from such love. And I said, I have so much to say and I need a voice to be able to say it through. I need an avenue. I need a platform. And so I just kind of put that out there. And then someone asked me to come and speak about Jesus because I would write about him often in my post on my Facebook page. And so I would write about him and I would write about God and I would write about my counsel and I would channel all these messages. And when I went and did this, the small workshop that I was invited to do to speak about Jesus and the Christ light, I got back in my car and I was told it is time. And so I'm like, okay, it is time for what? It is time for you to put our messages into book form, into a place where other people can read it. And so that was the moment when I went home and I began gathering and going back in time. And I kind of landed on the year 2013, but I have stuff in the book from the 1990s, the late 1990s. I came across a passage. So that's where this book kind of sprang from, because I was guided and told it's time to put it to work. It's time to share it with the world. It's time to put it on the tables of those who are hungry for what you have to serve them, what you have to share with them. Almost like when I say this, I can see, the Last Supper and Jesus sitting there with all of the disciples and they shared the one piece of bread. And so this is like me sharing the host with everybody, and everybody gets to take a bite of the host and consume it as they see fit and apply what's written in here to their lives that they're living now. What people read is going to be individual to them. And that's the beauty of this book, because the wisdom is universal in nature.
Wow, that's wonderful. I always say when an author has an idea for a book, it's been placed in their heart for a reason. They have a bigger calling. They're being called to be the vessel and share this message with the world. And in your case, you were literally told that. So
yes.
How could you ignore that calling?
You can't ignore it when the spirit rises from within any human being, and we're pushed towards realizing something that may feel uncomfortable, or we may say to ourselves, well, who am I? Or how are people going to receive this? We have to put all that aside and say, okay, use me, teach me, guide me, lead me, show me the way. And then we have to allow ourselves the grace and the humility to do the work of the spirit world, or the work of God, or the work of the Christ, or whoever it is that we're working with, and put it forward for people to consume without the worry of what people are going to say.
Yes, that is key. And I'm so happy that you did that, and that you stepped into this role and you stepped up to the plate. And so did you find that because you had this calling and you knew that these messages were meant to come through you, that it was easy for you to write this book? How did it come through you, the writing process?
The beautiful part was I went back, and the funny part about this book, how people put books together and they think that everything needs to be in chronological order. Well, I just went back to the date that they gave me of 2013. And then I began going through, because I posted everything on a Facebook page, on a business page called Nri Connections. So everything that I was channeling and writing, plus I had stuff in my journal that wasn't written on that page. I started going through all of that writing, and everything that had the word Jesus or God or those type of things, I started pulling them, and prayer and faith and all these things. And then I just pulled them and they all went in chronological order and the book just worked. So it wasn't like I sat down and composed or compiled this book and put it together. It was universally ready. I just needed to pick what needed to be put in the book because its flow, when I read it to this day, I think, how could that possibly have happened that way? So that's how the book came together. It wasn't somewhere where I sat and I decided I was going to write and think of all of these titles of all of the passages. The titles for the passages came after I pulled them from what was already written and dug into my journal and pulled some things from there. And then after I read it and then went into my author reflections, I had a title that I needed to prepare for each passage because they're all individual. They're all supposed to be consumed in that way. So that's how it worked out.
That's great. And, that's a good reminder for any aspiring authors that may be watching, is that you can pull from what you already have out there and draw inspiration from that and grab content from that. You don't have to start at a blank page. And in your case, you'd been sharing and you've been utilizing social media to get your message out there for years. So you had content that you could work with. And then, of course, the entire project was being divinely guided. And so you were guided in the best way to compile that into an order that makes sense for your reader. But I love that you could just open to any page in this book. That's the thing that's nice about it. The way that I like to utilize this book is to just I keep it on the coffee table in my living room, like next to where I drink my coffee every morning, and then just open it to the message of the day. And so, for example, today I just opened to the weary traveler. And so you can read one passage a day and get something from it. It's not, you don't necessarily have to read it from beginning to end to understand it. I believe that if you open it up, you're going to get something from wherever you happen to open the book. You're going to get what you need for that day. So it's a beautiful book that you could read from beginning to end, or it's a book that you can utilize as your daily devotional or just to read a passage each day.
That is the beauty of this book. One of my prayers when we were doing the launch and I would sit out in, I've created a beautiful garden and it's dedicated to God. And anybody who lays their eyes on it, no matter how they're feeling towards another human being or themselves or whatever it is, when they lay their eyes on there, they find a sense of peace. So I sit in that garden. I would pray that this book would find its way to people's coffee tables, to even inside of their bathrooms, to their nightstands, to their libraries, into their hands, to their, electronic devices. And the way my sister-in-law just contacted me yesterday, she said, the way I read the book is the way that you just described it. And she said, because of what is written is so deep, that when you read a passage, you need to sit with it. And I said, yes, that's the way that the book should be consumed, because like the Tao, we take a passage and we read it and we sit with it and we apply that wisdom to our own lives lived now. And so this book springs from that. It springs from that perspective and that point of view. So the way that you described reading it is exactly one of the visions that I had for it when I wrote the book.
Wow, I love that.
Even though some of the true stories might be about 3 passages that might go together or 2 passages that might go together, so there's a lot of true stories in here as well. And life experiences, and you'll find these short little sections that where they go together, but the book can also be utilized by just opening it, like I opened it to let your light shine, and then just reading that and saying, okay, how do I apply this to my life today? It's like looking out of the window and the first animal that you see in nature is the animal that's speaking to you and giving you a message on how you should move through your day, or what does your day have to offer you, or what should you be aware of. And so it's all of those things. And so it's nature and wisdom and guidance and spirituality and a little bit of religious undertones, but it's not a religious, what do I want to use? Document. It's not a Bible, but it is a Bible.
Well, actually, I was going to ask you if you could speak on that a little bit, because I remember in reading the introduction to the book that you mentioned and sometimes, some people might say, okay, what's the wisdom of Jesus in the 21st century? They might think it's exclusive to Christianity, but that's really not. Well, I'll let you speak on it, but could you explain that a little bit more for somebody who might think that without knowing exactly what the book is about?
Okay, so the first 13 years of my life, my mom was Catholic and my father was, I don't know what he was raised, but he was a very religious person who could quote the Bible, but he didn't follow a religious order. So he didn't follow a religion, so to speak. So my mom, it was important for us to be raised in the Catholic religion. So she, by her bringing me to the church and her, I would say forcing me to go to CCD. And attending all of that stuff and making my communion and confirmation gave me that understanding and that foundation of who God was and helped me create an intimate relationship with Jesus the Christ, not knowing that what she was doing was my soul's destiny to make that connection to Christ, because little did I know that I was going to be communicating directly with the Christ? Well, no. You know what I mean? I just wanted to be a kid who wanted to go fishing and hang out with my friends and go camping and do all of those things. But that became the foundation of who I am and the foundation of my spirituality. So I draw from those childhood memories and those inflections, because they were my connection and my first realization of my understanding of the God within me. And so, but it also opened up the door, because I wanted to know and understand and begin to channel from the spirit world, opening up that avenue where the Christ could channel through me and give information. I mean, I'll tell you, when he first started channeling through me and appearing and stuff, and I'd kind of bicker, like, I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to say that, or this is crazy, this, can't be real. But I honored it and I wrote it down and I would keep it for myself. And if there were things that needed to be shared, would be shared. But that religious part of me is a big part of me. And I honor it, I respect it, and I love it, because it was my first connection to who God is and was for me, and helped me to understand that we have one God, but he appears to multiple religions and multiple people in different ways so that they can understand him. So I brought in that Catholicism because I love it. I mean, I still pray to the saints and Saint Anthony, and I ask my angels for things, because these were things I learned from my mom and learned as a kid, but it connects me to that religious part of me. But I'm not a religious person. I'm more of a spiritualist. And I know that the natural world pulls at me so that I can understand how that speaks to me. So when we combine it all together, opens up that place for the channel within me of, where I'm able to share these things. But I had no idea, that, this was where I'd find myself at 57 years old, right?
Life takes us in amazing places, that's for sure. So when you talk about channeling Jesus, what does that look like for you? Like, what can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, I'd always been connected and listened, and I'd get messages and these really deep parables, and I'd write them in my journal, and I would share them with certain people. I wouldn't make all of it so public, and I wouldn't share it, with everyone, but I'd be like, oh my gosh, you can't believe what came through. So then when I went out to Omega, Jesus started showing up before then, and he started showing up in circle with my beautiful, the most amazing earth teacher who touches my heart, Miss Jackie. So he started appearing there because she helped me to understand and develop the channel within me. So I sat in a circle for 26 years with this woman who, you can't explain her energy. She's like nobody that anybody will ever meet. So she helped me to develop that channel. And then when I went out to Omega was when I started to really develop that ability to be a trance medium. And so when we went into the altered state, there he was. And I said to him, what are you doing here? And he said, I'm here because you asked me to be. And that's when it really became real. And then Jesus appeared to me always in a way that I could understand him throughout the years from there. He was already making his presence known, but it was from that moment. And that's why I believe they took me back to 2013, because that's when he told me, you need to go and help somebody who's dying of cancer, and you need to go help him. And I said, I'm not going to do that. And he bugged me. He bugged me for several weeks. Finally, I relented because I had a disagreement with this person, and some things had happened between me and this person. But Jesus told me that I needed to step up and do this for this person. And I remember calling this person and saying, hey, would you like me to help you? And his response was, yes, most definitely. And what I did was, the last 6 months of his life, I assisted him with energy and love and healing. And it helped him move towards the transitional stage of his life. But it not only helped him, it also helped me, because I had to put aside any hard feelings that I had. And I had to put my ego to the back, and I had to step up and say, it doesn't matter what happened between us, or, I'm here because I'm guided to be. And so he pushed me to really honor and respect what he was asking of me. And that's when he was showing up even more. So when he showed up and said, I'm here because you asked me to be, that was like the most amazing experience ever. And then when he said, tell all the people in this room what I have to say to you, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. And then I found myself with my hand in the air. I didn't put it in the air, and a microphone in my hand, telling everybody what Jesus spoke to me. It was amazing.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Wow.
So
Yeah, you have been called upon for great work in this world. And I'm just so honored that you actually, and I'm so grateful that you listen to that calling and you wrote this book, and that you show up in this world and you do the work that you do and to help others. So do you do that type of work with your clients? Like, what do you offer as far as if somebody wanted to work with you?
What I do is, if somebody wants to work with me, and I do a mentorship program, and when COVID hit and everything, I'm just starting to get my circle going out here in North Carolina, because I moved from Illinois to North Carolina. And so I always had a circle like my Miss Jackie did. And so in circle, I would teach people how to meditate. I would tell people the three most important tools are you yourself, your journal, and your open heart and love, your open heart and your open mind, and allowing yourself to connect to who you are on a deeper level. So what I do is I teach people to make that connection to their own spirit guides and teachers. I try to teach people, you don't want to mirror image me, but I become a mirrored reflection of who you are. And so you take that reflection and you apply it to your life, and you take what I have taught you and you make it your own, because that's what it's all about. Any teacher that teaches us something, we take what they have taught us and we make it our own, because we're going to grow from that mirrored reflection. We don't want to become a carbon copy of anybody else, but I teach them to be uniquely them. So in a mentorship program, I allow the spirit world, my counsel, my guides, my teachers, all of those and their guides and teachers to step forward, and we create a syllabus structured around who they are. Because it's funny, because they'll think one thing and they'll send me the questions, and right away the guides and teachers and myself will recognize, this person's a healer, but they think that they want to be a psychic, but really their psychic abilities or their mediumship abilities flows through the healer within them. And when they're in that healing energy, that mediumship, that medium, that psychic blossoms, and they become that open channel for the information to flow through. So I teach people the importance of documentation, writing in your journal every day, building a rapport with the spirit world, because when you sit down and you begin to do that, then they say, oh, she's ready. Because when we hold back, the guides and teachers that are working with us will be like, well, she's just not ready yet. And they'll go find someone else to work with, and someone else will step in where you're at right now. And as soon as you graduate, a higher guide and teacher will come forward and work with you. And then that other guide will go work with somebody else where you found yourself at before, you moved to that elevated or level of growth.
Awesome. Very cool.
Excuse me.
It's so fascinating to me. So if somebody wanted to learn more about what you do, what's your website?
Website it's called Nri Connections, and it's spelled inner INNER and the word IEYE and the word connections.com. And the reason why years ago I needed to create a place for my stuff, and there was a bookstore called the Nri, and I loved the bookstore and I always wanted to buy the bookstore, and then the bookstore went out of business. So when it came time to create a platform for myself, I pulled that word inner I and then I added connections, because what ultimately I'm doing is I'm helping you build that connection for yourself to the spirit world, to that person you are on the inside, to that spiritual spark, to give you a support and foundation so that you can go forward and realize those destined moments and move towards those purposeful moments in your life. So I just help the spiritually curious when they're ready to grow to step into different shoes, because we have different shoes sitting at our feet. So we're in our comfortable shoes, but we might have a really pretty pair of, shiny shoes over here that we're afraid to put on our feet. And I help you to slip into them and get a feel for those shiny shoes.
I love it. And I love how you help the spiritually curious, because I remember back when I started my spiritual journey, many years ago, and I was spiritually curious, a book like this would have really helped. So if you are spiritually curious, make sure you get a copy of I Am the Light. You can get it on Amazon.com. You can get it on BarnesandNoble.com. You can get it on your website, NriConnections.com.
Yes.
Correct, Patty? So what would you say is what is the one thing, like the main thing you want people to take away from this book?
This book is a teacher. This book is a guidepost. This book will speak to each person in an individual way. And there'll be passages that are going to resonate with you at one moment and passages that might not speak to your heart in the next moment. But this book is about teachable moments where life comes full circle and we connect it to the teachings of Christ. And so when it says the wisdom of Jesus in the 21st century, the wisdom of Jesus has stood the test of time, and he touches every man, woman, and child and an element of this world. And he fills us and helps us understand and recognize the importance of forgiveness and the way home and just navigating life in general. So what did Jesus do back in the day? He helped people to navigate where they found themselves at. He talked to people and he inspired them, and they recognized that there was something bigger. And so they began to emulate him. So emulate, and it doesn't mean that we're going to walk around and be holier than thou, because trust me, none of us are. We're all human beings, and that's first and foremost that we should understand. But there's something about the wisdom of Jesus that is applied to our everyday lives that each person can pull from, because everybody, regardless of what they want to call themselves, whether they call themselves religious or Christian, even somebody who might call themselves an atheist or whatever it is, everybody at one point in their life will speak his name. They will speak his name. And anybody who finds themselves in a moment will find themselves in prayer. Regardless if you don't believe in God or you don't believe in the Christ, you'll find yourself in prayer. And what did Jesus teach people how to do? He taught them how to pray. And why did he teach us how to pray? He taught us how to pray so that we could connect to the God within us, and so that we could have God hear our voice when we're calling out in need. So regardless of what anybody may think, feel, or see the way that life is, or, I don't believe in religion, or I don't believe in God, or I do believe in God, or I take it to an extreme, whatever it is, the teachings of Jesus bring us a balance and help us to balance out that God-sourced light within us, and helps us to, I like to say, my spiritual heart is on full display all the time. Even when I was in a construction field, my heart was always on display. So Jesus allows us to find a way to allow our hearts to be on display through the kindness and the love and the prayers and the faith and those things that we share with other people.
I love it. I just can't tell you like how happy I am that that we connected. And I feel so honored and blessed to be able to help you put this out in the world and to be chosen by you to actually be a part of this journey, because this is a big deal. You are called upon for great work. And I hope you feel like we did right for you at Transcendent Publishing. And because we really, I know that I was just in awe of your work, and I just feel so honored to work with you.
You were the blessing and the gift that I needed, and the opportunity. I was ready. And when they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And so you've taught us, all of your authors, so much about publishing and putting, your story into print and helping ease us through the editing process so that we don't take it personally, but recognize and understanding that sometimes things need to be moved around, because it's not a personal thing. It's because you really want the reader to get the full effect of what the author has to say. So you have been a gift to myself and so many others in more ways than you can imagine. Your purpose and your destiny was to do just what you're doing, so that authors like me have a platform so that our voices can be heard. So, you become that, that person who elevates the story of many, because you've elevated me to recognize that, once I put it in your hands and we moved things around, you said, we're going to do it. We're going to honor your work. And that's exactly what you did. This book is a ripple effect. It's like the ripple effect of life. We tossed a pebble into the middle of the pond, and now it's touching every shoreline that it can. And who could ask for more than that?
Yes. Yeah.
So, so this book is a pebble in a pond. And so that's what I look at it as. It's a pebble. And so the ripple effect runs deep. It's not only what we can physically see with our physical eyes, it's what we feel in our hearts. And that ripple effect, and that's what you are too. You've created a ripple in this world, and anybody would be blessed to be able to work with you.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that so much. And I feel honored that you chose me and my company Transcendent Publishing to help you get this out in the world. And it's a beautiful book. You are the light. I hope you continue to show up and share your message and shine the light. And I hope this book continues to open doors for you, to offer you a larger platform and a stage to share your wisdom, because you have so much wisdom to share with the world. So if you haven't yet, visit Patty's website. It's nriconnections.com. Sign up for her mailing list, and follow her on Facebook and get a copy of her book, because she has a lot to share with the world and she's just getting started. So Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, NriConnections.com. Get your copy. I'm going to put a link in the comments, and I'll put a link above the video as well. But yeah, any comments that you want to, any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
I am the light, right? And so it took me a while to come up with the title, and I worked on it with a friend of mine. And so my saying has always been, when I've sat before the numerous classrooms and the numerous amount of students and the talks and the lectures and the demonstrations that I've done, I will always tell people, I am only the light that helps to amplify the light within you. And so my purpose is to honor and respect my place as that light, because people are drawn to each of our lights for a reason, because there's something that we have need of. And so my light, when people will say, I don't know why, but I just have to talk to you. It's because they see the light. And so they're looking for a way to fulfill the light within them. So I am just that lighthouse.
Yeah.
I'm one of many.
Yeah. Thank you for showing up and doing the work that you do, and keep on shining.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for everything.
Yeah,
I'm truly blessed.
Like I said, it was a pleasure and an honor. So thank you again for agreeing to chat with me here today. I just want to help you get this word out to the world about your book, because I know so many people can benefit from the wisdom within these pages. So go out and get your copy. I Am the Light.
Yes. Get your copy. I Am the Light. It's I think that, you know, I to hear the stories, the people are already sharing their favorite passages with me. And so I'm going to be, you know, doing some lives and start talking about, you know, what people are saying about the books. So I'm excited to look for something to come on the backside of this. It's just, it doesn't stop only here with this paperback book, or, you know, this baby is a living, breathing document, and it's going to just grow in a new platform.
Yes. I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks again for everyone who showed up live to watch. And thank you, Patty, for agreeing to meet with me today, and have a great weekend, everyone.
You too. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.